Tula is a long way away. Yeah. Somewhere in between, we were always associated with some or the other social causes. So not in a big way with some people who were doing, and we just thought we will also work with them. It would be some collecting some money for educating some kids, or for an orphanage, or for cancer patients, and that's all we were. Mine's that was what the social charitable work was. Nothing beyond. Otherwise, I was a regular consumer, abusing happily and merrily the resources and the ecology. Somewhere down the line, but we had uh, taken a different decision in our lives. We just thought, me and my wife, we thought we will stop working for monetarily gainful employment, so to say. This is something that we decided a few years before it could happen. We said from 2006, we will not work. We will work only on social issues and non-monetary gainful places. That's something that we had decided 6 to 8 years beforehand. We don't know why and what. There is no. We just thought we should maybe some challenge that we threw upon ourselves. That's all. So that's how. So as the time came close by, the last few years of our career, that then was the last 6 7 years of it. We were living in Europe and Switzerland. So we also had time, and we were basically also more closer with nature and slowly understanding many things around us. And we also started working and talking and reading about various things that's happening, the alternate world, how is it working, and what is happening in India. So slowly. And when we came here, also we got in touch with many of them, visited many of them, and saw. We had narrowed down agriculture, water body restoration, waste management as areas that we might want to work, and visited people and projects like that. So from there, it became hardcore agriculture. We started working with agriculture. One of the things also what led us to agriculture also was the farm suicides that was happening in India. At that time, it was close to one farm suicide every half an hour that was happening in India. The amount of farm suicides was too much, and we felt very bad that as a society and a community, we just can't be ignoring it and behaving like that nothing was happening. Whereas the ones who were producing our food, the Annadatas, were dying, committing suicide, which means only a small percentage of it makes it to the official records. So we started working more on farming with farmers and sustainable agriculture, and moved on from there. From there, after 5 years of working with that, somewhere down the line, it so happened in one of the meetings, somebody asked us if you are working, if you were touched by the farm suicides, why are you not working in cotton farming areas or with cotton farmers? That was something that touched us. We said, fine, maybe we should also work with cotton farmers. That's how we said, fine, we will work with cotton farmers. We thought cotton was also like food. We just grow, bring it, and sell it. Then once we asked a few, as a experiment, we asked a few of our farmers, our dryland farmers, to grow organic cotton or cotton organically. Well, a small sample of them. But then as we came closer to the harvest, we didn't know what to do with that. Until then, we were working with food and food farmers. Right? So it was easy always. It's just one step or direct. So vegetables, you just bring and sell, create a market for them. So we were creating a market for the farmers who had moved to organic. And so we were creating food markets or organic farmers markets for those organic farmers. So when it came to cotton, it became a bit more difficult for us. We didn't understand what to do because we were never in that field. So we went around, tried to look around what's happening. When I saw the conventional, the mainstream cotton market, I was aghast. It's appalling that basically so much of exploitation, so much of pollution, so much of mindless use of resources, so much of fossil fuel, everything. So behind every shirt, there was at least 50 times more carbon dioxide. That was the weight of it. 50 times was the carbon footprint of it. And the way they were treating people. And there was a big, huge mass of people who were basically exploited for somebody else to have a good clothing, what we termed as a good looking cloth or a brand or what. We found it very ridiculous. So we said we have to correct it. Then we, in our minds, immediately one thinks of what is the other end of this industrial garment or production of textile. Then you think of handmade, khadi. Then we went on a khadi trail. Then we found even more. Khadi, of course, is a very, very nice thing. I mean, That's why probably Gandhi took it in his hand as a tool or a symbol of freedom struggle. But Khadi also was not paying well to the artisans and workers. For example, when I went around, which is around 10, 12 years back, those who were stitching a pant were paid 7 rupees for stitching a pant. A person can stitch around 10 pants a day. So they were earning 70 rupees 12 years back. So why will somebody be there? This is the easiest in that link I'm talking about. Then there are spinning, there are weaving and all that. Everyone was paid so less. So we said we will imagine a value chain which is absolutely ethical and eco-friendly, which pays dignified compensation to all these people across, and then bring it and create an awareness for a consumer, creating a conscious consumption. That's how Tula was born. So when we look at a cotton value chain, basically, cotton can be immediately taken to a mill. That's what happens in the market. They blend whatever. They blend it with also polyester or a lycra or any other synthetic material and make whatever. And it's all made in a machine. Right. And there is a big disparity. There is a 1 or 2% that and the retailers and the designers eat the cake. Right. Big time. And so the lower rank hardly gets anything. The farmer is absolutely rejected and not even visible in this whole thing. So we thought we will also have to touch it. So that's why Tula we decided the whole value chain will have to be very clean, green, and fair.
Right. So when you're selecting your suppliers or vendors, do you have certain characteristics that you evaluate them on, any metrics that help you decide?
Yeah, for all this, non-negotiables are it has to be sustainable. Least resources are used. There has to be a good decentralized operation and a distributed economy that can come out of this. The women has to be visible. See, most of the times, whether it's farming, food farming, or in the farming or in the market, everywhere they are invisibilized. So we say, for example, when you talk of a weaver, it's always a he. When you talk of a farmer, it's always a he. So we say it as the woman has to be also be visible and also be paid on par with it. So that's one thing. The other thing is basically it has also got to be a society or people around it who are basically not only about a dignified compensation. It's also an atmosphere of good working conditions, because that is one of the worst things of an industrial model. So that was also important for us, and it has to be ethical and as much as it has to be eco-friendly also. Farming for us, it's also a way of life. So it is not just about removing chemicals and growing it organic so that the inputs can come from an industry or somewhere else. No, it's not like that. And when we say cotton is predominantly in India, it was always a rain-fed, which means you don't suck up water from their aquifers, which is also important for us. So it has to be a rain-fed cotton. It has to be the traditional Indian cotton. It has to be the seeds that are local. There has to be a diversity. There has to be a good practice. All these together form this. That's very important for us. Basically, it starts with the seeds. It has to. And we were losing out seeds, our traditional Indian seeds, the desi seeds, or the heirloom and the indigenous seeds, so to say. We were losing it to a market which was driving even a seed as a business. It was commoditizing seeds, because this was multinationals who were entering in. It was entering into a space where it was cultural to not sell seeds. You could exchange seeds. Anyways, you would worship seeds. You would basically pray with seeds to the gods. That was a cultural, and it was the women who were saving seeds always along with it. So such a thing, cultural thing, a traditional thing, a very nice thing was being tampered and teased by an industry which was coming in to make profits out of it. And they were highly successful, I would say. They came in with something called the genetically modified. So the first and the only thing till date allowed in India for genetically modified seeds is for cotton. So that came in 2002. And by 2010, if you see, 96% of the cotton that was grown in India was one particular seed from one particular company, which means the whole diversity was lost. Your sovereignty, seed sovereignty is lost. The farmers had to pay more, and there was a company there making up heavy profits. And these were not seeds that you buy once and then go grow and save it again and again. That's how agriculture came for thousands of years. 10,000 years it was like this. They tampered with that. You buy their seeds and go back to them every year after year. So we said we will have to counter this. How do you counter when it was 96% dominated already in a matter of 10 years? Because the government was in their hands. It was all in their hands. They were basically making huge marketing splurges. They were fooling. I mean, advertisements are nothing but cheating and trying to fool people, basically. And they did effectively. And so they had a huge market share of the seeds. So we said we will have to fight that. So we will have to revive, restore whatever is available. So we started working with the traditional Indian cotton, with farmers who would revive it, who would help it. It is also beautiful that when you grow traditional Indian cotton, the Indian cotton was always grown with multiple crops. There's always basically was a mixed farming, which means there was food coming along with it. There are other crops that are grown along with it. So there was a natural predators that were also thriving there. There was a natural pest control there. There was a management around it. Soil management was very, very effective. All this was also happening. When it came into BT cotton, for example, if you are a farmer with 1 or 2 acres, you would grow only BT cotton in that. So you wouldn't find onions or chilies or coriander or other things that are grown. For example, in Meghalaya, northeast of India, they grow 12 to 15 different crops along with cotton. In Karnataka, they grow chili for 3-4 years back. Actually, incidentally, for the 2-3 years before that, chilies fetch them more revenue than cotton, which is very important. Cotton as a cash crop is determined by the price is determined by the international markets. The multinational players, which means it will always be exploited, which is always be lopsided. There will be one set of small percentage that will make enormous money out of this, and there will be a big percentage that will always be struggling behind. This is not some communist class that we are talking about. That's the reality that's happening there. So it's very important for us to understand that is to be questioned. So can I have the seeds with the communities? Can the women be holding back and saving them? Can we just bring it back? Can we just grow food along with this? Can this cotton be handled locally? Will it also mean, not only mean seed sovereignty, will it also mean local economy? Will also mean distributed economy? Will it also mean decentralized operations? Will it also mean multitudes of small that makes big? Will it mean no aggregation of profit for a small percentage which will thrive in a 27 floor houses? So natural dyeing, for example, worldwide, natural dyeing means, basically the colors are attained from plant materials. But there is something called mordant, which helps you fix it to the fabric or the yarn. The mordant can be synthetic in some cases. It's allowed worldwide. So in our case, we said we will not allow that also. We will not take to that. So the mordant also has to be not synthetic. It should also be basically a natural product. Or we should be mordant free. Why can't we do that? Okay, let it fade. We will educate the customer. Basically, so that the water which you use for natural dyeing should also be immediately be, if it is not potable, at least it should be usable for an agricultural purpose. Incidentally, chemical dyeing is the second largest pollutant in the world. And so, we see what is happening in Bangladesh or in India, southern India, in the Tirupur, Erode side. The whole river is black. The groundwater from 5 meters on is brackish. It's not absolutely, it can't even be used for agriculture. So that's what it is. So it's very important for us to also think of all this. It's a course correction. It's a path correction. It's also important that it is also replicable so that more and more people slowly take to this. Natural dyeing is about that. It's seasonal. If you're working on the flowers, you will only get in this. There are some perennial flowers, of course. I'm just saying there are some things that will be available only now or then. And it's also about that particular year, that particular season. So it can still vary. If you're using marigold, for example, it's a short-term crop. You can keep growing it again and again, but it will be different. The yellow that you will get from it will be different through the year also. So I think that's a beauty of the nature. And I think we humans have to start appreciating it. There is this industrialization has taught us standardization. Right. So you want the same type of fabric, same type of color all through the year, which I think is absolutely unnatural and silly also in many counts. So yeah, we do have constraints. Suddenly we may not have some color. We are fine with that. In fact, 6 years back, we had a Diwali campaign saying this Diwali we will go Kora, no color at all. Why do you want to, even if it is natural, why do you want colors? We wanted to deliberately challenge people to think that color is not everything in a garment. You don't have to think of color. You don't have to impress her or him only with a color. You can impress her or him with a character. So we do throw challenges. So consumption is not easy that way. The thing is, we ensure everywhere there is a good compensation.
Right.
So for a weaver, for example, if you are asking me, when we went around 10 years back, 10 to 12 years back, what I saw around India was a weaver was paid 15 rupees per meter, and a weaver was always a he. The she who was doing 35 to 50% of the work, like the starching, sizing, bobbin winding,
Right.
was never paid, was never considered. There was only a he who was paid, and that was also 15 rupees for a meter. So even if you were weaving 10 meters a day, you would get only 150 for such an art which is highly creative, labor oriented, a lot of work, and they were paid. So that is also one of the reasons that we were losing out. So we thought we have to basically pay. So we did two things. We said we immediately be paid 3 to 4 times, and we said this woman's work will be isolated. Even today in Tula, we recognize that separately. A woman is paid separately for the sizing, starching, and one more thing one should also look at weaving is it's also a community. It's a community event basically. There's one whole group. There is a group of people who will be doing the sizing and the starching. There are the street warping that used to happen in India everywhere. There are people who are doing the warping for a group of people, for a group of weavers. A lot of these things were also community activities. We wish it comes back like that. It's a beautiful thing. So that is another level of decentralizing and distributing the economy. And dependency also, interdependency. So there are people who are not weaving, they're doing something else for the same thing. So the fabric at the end of it, when it comes, it would have touched more people. So I think what is important to look at it is not how it is executed at the ground level. Ground level, we know it has a lot of reasons. If you have to see from the top, I think seeing it from a consumer angle is very important, which means what we want to create is an awareness for a consumer, bringing a consciousness into the consumer's mind so that what you buy, for example, if you go and pay 1,000 rupees, what happens to that? How much of it goes where? How much does a spinner get? How much does a weaver get? How much does a dyer get? How much does a tailor get? How much does each of them get? And so what's happening? So if it is so distributed, if it can touch so many people, that is the best thing that can happen to the economy and ecology together. And if possible, if it all is a network and as close as possible, that would be the best answer to a sustainable question that you might have. So that's what we want. So in our case, it is like that. Cotton is grown here, that will be processed here. The spinning woman would be there, and then the weaver should be there around close by. Not necessarily always. We are also sending it to West Bengal, I told you, because these are experiments that are happening here slowly. But what we also want to manifest here and what we want to set as a trend here is also the better compensation at each level to all of them. So you go and basically try to ruffle it a bit, challenge it a bit, advise it a bit, suggest it a bit, so that everybody thinks of a better rate, better compensation for all these people. More people think of buying these things. That is also something that we would want. We want at both the ends. Changes have to be at both the ends. I have to say, government should have been thinking of it. They have failed us miserably in all fronts, including this plant. So it's up to us. Our consumption also has to be like this, and people who are working in this also have to slowly think of these things. And we have that is the best answer possible, I would think. This is the answer to the failed model of industrialization and capitalism and aggregation for just a few people.
Right.
So there is an answer here, and India can be at the center of this. A real movement. This should be the real globalization of bringing back handmade, bringing back artisans, bringing back values, bringing back ecologically and economically friendly activities. That's all. Where we are, we don't want to be growing every year. We are not imagining, oh, the year on year growth or this and that. We don't want to draw graphs. We actually should stop our graph here. We want more and more youngsters to be doing it. We are sharing it. We are open for workshops. We conduct 3-day workshops, talk about this. We want more and more people. It is an exciting and a very interesting area, textiles. There are hundreds of things one can do. Every day, every week, you can come out with a new creative thing. That's the beauty of it. That's the expanse of it. That's the history of it. Cotton, if you see 3,000 years back, how it grew, how it came, how we dominated. 40% of India's GDP would have been that till 300 years back. World's GDP, 40% was our GDP, 35 to 40%. It was because of cotton. So it's a great thing. So I think there is a fantastic opportunity for economy also here as much as ecology. And as long as it's social and conscious, it will be beautiful. If there is social enterprises that come up, you're not thinking of aggregating only for a few people. That is what Tula has thrown here in the front. That's what we want. We are not here imagining we want to expand to 18 states. We want to expand to 180 people, 1,800 people. We want to do to 100 crores. No, we do not want to do that. I will be happier when we say Tula is done, over, I am retiring.
Right.
Youngsters are running it. There are hundreds of organizations like Tula, hundreds of people who are working in this. The values have been established and revived and restored. That is the way we look forward.